What's going on there, YouTube, and welcome back to another comic book video. This is the channel where we sit down and cover different comic book stories from different comic book companies. Today, we are going to jump back over to Marvel Comics, and we are going to do a full story video. A full story video is basically me taking a bunch of videos that tells an overarching story, bring them together to make one big video. And this full story video is going to be the Ultimate Marvel event, Ultimate Marvel Divided We Fall, United We Stand event. This was a big event that took place in the Ultimate Marvel universe. It has Spider-Man, Miles Morales, the X-Men, and the Ultimates all coming together for one big event. Also, this is the event where we see a civil war in America, basically. So, if you do like today's comic book video, please hit that like button down below and also subscribe. But I do hope you enjoy today's video. Today's video. So the opening of this book is more of a review on what happened in our last video. As we saw different videos, different parts of the country are becoming their own nation. Some being forced, like the southwestern states in America. They are being overrun by the Nimrod Sentinels. The president just announced that those states are now enemy territory, meaning that mutants and humans are on their own when it comes to those states. Now for Kitty Pryde, this is her story. In the beginning of this run, she stated that we were going to see her become the most feared and hated terrorist in the country. After hearing the news, she needed some air. She is stopped by another mutant named Nami, and I know I just butchered that name. But this part right here is to show their bond between the two of them. This is the moment you have Kitty Pryde decide that it is time for her and the mutants that are with her to make a difference in the world. She is tired of hiding and watching the mutant race be killed off left and right. So we jump over to a protest that is happening in the middle of New York City, where you have some humans trying to stand up for the mutant race, showing there are some people out there who care. But of course, on the police side, they look at these humans as scum now, because these humans have joined the side of the mutants. When the police try to shoot these mutants down, you have Kitty Pryde appear, and she saves the day, where she takes down these police officers, and she is making a statement that there could be some mutants out there who will actually fight back, and they can actually kill off these regular humans. And so after she had taken those cops down, we see her go back to the Murloc tunnels and tell her friends, which are Rogue, Johnny Storm, Bobby Drake, and Jimmy, the son of Wolverine. She tells them that she is going to leave New York and go to the southwestern states to fight against the Nimrods to save the mutants out there who are dying. Also, this is her stating that it is time for the mutant race to make a stand. Now, Rogue, Bobby Drake, and Jimmy are down to go with her. Also, we are establishing that Jimmy, the son of Wolverine, may have a crush on Kitty. Johnny Storm, the Human Torch of the Fantastic Four, decides to stay back. The reason why is because someone has to watch over the children they had saved in our first Ultimate Comic X-Men video. So this is where the new X-Men say goodbye to Johnny Storm. So we see them begin their route of leaving New York and heading to the southwestern states. Also seeing Jimmy make small moves on Kitty Pryde. But this is the beginning of Kitty Pryde becoming a powerful force in the country. The question is, what are we going to see her do that will make her become that powerful force? Again, it's just her trying to save the mutant race. But out of nowhere, we do get a few pages of us seeing some police officers going down into the Murloc tunnels after Kitty, Bobby, Rogue, and Jimmy had left for the Southwest, where of course they are there to capture the mutants because being a mutant is still illegal. Where you have these police officers find Johnny and the children and just let out a ton of bullets, making it seem like they had just killed off a bunch of kids and Johnny in the process. Only to see that Kitty Pryde was having a bad dream, but also the fact that she has not been able to get in contact with Johnny ever since they left. Also, they are traveling by car now. But this is showing that with them going on this trip is going to change them as characters because they are going through a tough process. With them going into Nimrod territory, they could see a lot of different things. Now we have to remember that the Nimrods have been taken over by the mind of William Stryker Jr. when he died back in our first Ultimate Comic X-Men video. Remember that William Stryker Jr. was a mutant. He didn't know he was, but he was one. Also, he hated mutants. Now his ability was be able to control technology. So when he died, his conscience went into the Nimrod system. And with the fact that he hated mutants so much, the Nimrods are now going across the country killing mutants left and right because William Stryker Jr. has taken over the system with his mind, with his conscience. He hated mutants so much. But with them taking over the Nimrod system and them taking over the Southwest states, you have groups of people joining their sides because there were humans who hated mutants and now they are helping out with killing them off, pointing out that people true colors are showing now because they have an army of robots to back up their choices. Now, while they were traveling, of course, they hit a checkpoint. This checkpoint is, of course, to make sure that they are not mutants. Humans who are trying to see if they are able to capture someone who is trying to pretend to be a mutant, where they make Kitty Pryde get out of the car and the rest stay in the car. Now, Kitty Pryde has to pretend that she is not a mutant because they can't be causing a scene just yet until they have made it to their destination. So right now, she has to pretend that she is a regular human being, even letting this man talk down on the mutant race and judge her up and down. It is a real tough situation for her, but also the fact that she was able to convince them that she is just a human being. Now, the section we are going to close on is when they arrive at a diner and you have Kitty Pryde go to a payphone to try to call Johnny Storm. Now, this is interesting because even in 2011, payphones were hardly around anymore. But when she tries to call Johnny Storm, who is still back at the Murloc tunnels, that is when the group from earlier who ran that checkpoint earlier actually followed Kitty Pryde group all the way to the diner they had stopped at. So while she is on the phone, on the inside, the checkpoint group begin to interrogate Jimmy and the others. At the same time, when gunshots go off in the diner, that is when Nami tells Kitty that the children are safe, but there was a raid and Johnny Storm was taken. Now the question is, by who? Now, our second video focuses on the Ultimates. With this video, we learn how bad America has gotten, starting off with us following John Howard, who we know was the Secretary of Energy. But with the bomb that went off in Washington, D.C., it killed the president and a long list of people who would have become the president if they were alive. The death toll was high, but since he was thrown into the president's chair, he is trying to save what is left of America. Texas has left the country and they have turned shield weapons against the rest of America as a defense system. Word is that the West Coast might do the same. There is also an armed camp in Detroit, but Carol Danvers arrives because her and Howard used to be close friends. That is when he tells her that she is going to be the chief of staff, but at the same time, they see Captain America in New Mexico. Now remember that after Ultimate Fallout, Captain America quit being part of the Ultimates. Nick Fury has been trying to get Captain America to come back to the team, but with the death of Peter Parker in this universe, he just can't hold himself going back over to help the Ultimates team. Nick Fury even tried to bring Captain America back when Reed Richards and Seer was going on, except he did not want to come back, blaming himself over the death of Peter Parker. But when he finally saw all the reports of what has been going on in America, he finally said it is time for him to come back and help rebuild America. Then we pick up with Tony Stark, who is chilling in a meeting, where you have him listening about different things going on around the world. Also the fact that he is going over information about the return of his brain cancer. We saw that in our last Ultimates video, but with him getting the return of his brain tumor, his mind is focusing on that more than the downfall of his company. Then he looks up to see the return of Captain America, which of course makes him get out of his chair and just leave the meeting to see him getting into his new Iron Man armor to go join Captain America in New Mexico. Tony proceeds to call the final person of the big three, which of course is Thor. Now Thor is on Asgard, and Asgard was put on Earth thanks to the rebirth of Odin. But quickly after that, all the Asgardians were killed thanks to the Maker, aka Reed Richards, and his Children of Tomorrow. We saw that in our first Jonathan Hickman video over the Ultimates. And so we see a Thor who feels sad and lost without his people. He only had them back for a brief moment, only to lose them again. But you have Iron Man call up Thor and tell him to meet him in New Mexico to go help their friend. Of course, that friend being Captain America. And so the next section is the big three coming back together to fight against the Nimrod army that is in New Mexico. Remember, in our last couple Ultimate X-Men videos, when Kitty Pryde killed William Stryker Jr., his conscience was teleported into the Nimrod system. He did not know he had the mutant ability to control technology, but the Nimrods began to attack the mutant camps that were placed by the American government to kill all mutants, also led to them attacking cities across the Southwest states. All thanks to the hatred of mutants from William Stryker Jr. conscience. But with the Nimrod army, it made those states become enemy territory, meaning that those states belong to the Nimrods. And so we see a Captain America, Iron Man, and Thor being able to beat the army of Nimrods in New Mexico to help them rejoin America. Except Tony gets a call from Carol Danvers talking about how Texas has a nuke and they plan to use it. Skipping over to Texas, we see Modi, the son of Thor, is still planning something, as he is part of the big meeting the Texas government is having, talking about how the Southwest states are lost and they don't want to be dragged down with them. Modi walks out and states that they only have to say the word and he can help them. Now you're probably wondering, where did Modi come from? Like I said, Modi is the son of Thor. His mother is Hela. Hela actually forced Thor to give her a son, which was, of course, was Modi. That was all done in Ultimatum. But in Jonathan Hickman Ultimates Volume 1, we saw the Maker, aka Reed Richards, and his children attack Asgard, and they killed all of the Asgardians. Now, Thor was able to save his son by putting his son into the room with no doors and gave him his hammer and said, listen, my hammer will help you escape one day. Well, at the end of Jonathan Hickman Ultimates run, of course, Modi did return. but he returned as a young adult. And now he is going around America and doing different things for his big master plan. So we pick up, I'm guessing, a day later, where we see the new government of Texas freaking out because one of S.H.I.E.L.D. helicarriers has arrived in Dallas, Texas. They try to call up Modi, but he dips out and hides in Washington, D.C. and states they need to use the nuke. Now, Texas has stated that if America steps foot on Texas soil, they will use their nuke as a sign of war. So Carol Danvers tells Captain America that him, Iron Man, and Thor only have 15 minutes to disarm the nuke. And so you have Captain America say they will do it in 14 minutes. Getting back to the present day, we see Captain America, Thor, and Iron Man begin their work to find the nuke codes to stop the nuke from hitting New York. They need to find the people who are running Texas, because we learn that the people who are running the Texas government are not your usual politicians. They're just basic businessmen, and if they stop them, Texas will rejoin America, because we learn that the people of Texas did not even want to leave, that these fake politicians just forced Texas to leave America. We also see that Hawkeye and Monica Chang have rejoined the Ultimates team as well to help stop this madness in Texas. This is where we jump over to Washington, D.C. and pick up with Modi again, moving pieces for his master plan. We see him meeting up with Senator Underwood, and he's trying to convince Underwood to let him and his armed forces take over Wyoming. Now, that state is very important, and we will see why as we progress on with Divided We Fall, United We Stand storyline. But you have Underwood realize if he does that, it will be treason. So he says no. But Modi had a backup plan, which was to blackmail Underwood. There was an incident where 50 people died. Thousands of cases of people being poisoned were swept under the rug, and Underwood received money for his reelection, hinting that he had a hand with those cases being swept away. But then he is worried about the president, where you have Modi hand over something that can help deal with the president. But getting back to the Ultimates, dealing with the fact that they have a missile now heading towards New York, they need to move faster to deal with that missile before it actually hits New York. Where you have Tony Stark using Anthony, to him, his brain cancer is a living being of its own, which to me is just another computer program. But you have the Ultimates being able to find the codes that will then lead to them being able to shut down the nuke before it hits New York. Now, while all of this was happening, it gave Modi the chance to move the pieces he needed in the right direction. Starting with the fact you have Senator Underwood being able to remove the president out of being in control of America. This is all thanks to Agent Flum. Remember, Agent Flum was using S.H.I.E.L.D. resources to capture members of the Ultimates. To the Senate, those resources should have been used to stop Texas from even leaving America in the first place. Now, Agent Flum was doing that because the previous president told him to, but it continued on with President Howard. So the Senate is going to hold a special election. This is a way to give Modi what he wanted, because now there is no president to send in emergency troops to stop Modi in Wyoming. Then to close, we pick up with two guys who have taken over California and made it their own nation, which I think some of the other West Coast states are part of it too. But this is the moment they decide to close off their borders. The question is, how will they be able to control their borders? Modi appears again to tell them about the WASP system, a small army of WASP robots that Hank Pym built. And so their goal is to use that to protect their borders. So getting back into divided we fall, united we stand, we're going to pick up with Miles Morales. The reason why we are picking up with him last is because his story actually begins when Captain America comes back to the Ultimates. Of course, this is the point where Captain America finds out about Miles Morales being the new Spider-Man. You have to remember that Captain America blames himself for the death of Peter Parker. So seeing another Spider-Man but younger, it really bothers him. Even though you have Tony Stark trying to vouch for Tony, of course, to Captain America, it is still a no. Tony Stark thinks that Captain America should talk to Miles to get to know Miles more. But after saying that, that is when the news reports about Miles Morales being a murderer. Remember, in our last video, Miles Morales had to fight against his uncle, who was the Prowler in this universe. Their fight ended with Prowler dying because Miles used his Venom Shock powers that short-circuit Prowler's suit and made it explode. So we're picking up with Miles' father coming to him and telling him that his uncle is officially dead now. Miles hates himself because he thinks it is his fault that his uncle died. But then you have his father say something that is going to mess up Miles even more. Remember that Miles' father hates superheroes. So he goes on to say some stuff that really shows his hatred towards superheroes. When Miles walks around the city, of course, he is seeing posters of himself all over the city where they are calling Spider-Man a murderer, and it really bothers him. Then we proceed to him and Genki arriving at school, and this is the moment that is going to set up a few things. The first being that Judge, Miles' other roommate, is beginning to hate Miles and Genki because they are always hiding stuff from him and he feels left out. So he tells them that he is going to request to have a new room. But then after that, Miles gets a phone call. Now the way this video has been going, you would think it is Captain America calling up Miles Morales, except it is not. And when you see who it is, you are going to remember back to an older video. Before we can even see Miles meet the person that was calling him, we actually have him running into another new villain in the Ultimate Marvel Universe, which is Batroc the Leaper. I know I just butchered that name. A true D-list character, and I don't care what anyone says, he is a D-list character. As you can see here, he has the ability to just leap very well. This is again for Miles to get a small group of villains to be in his rogue gallery. Also to show to Captain America if Miles has what it takes to be a hero. Because throughout the fight, Miles was causing some major property damage and being a little reckless. But after the fight, we see Miles was being watched by Captain America. It's Captain America trying to learn more about Miles Morales. Now we skip over to Miles going to a warehouse. Of course, this being the warehouse where he was told to meet up with the person who called him. This is where we find out it was Aunt May and Gwen Stacy. Remember that back in our previous video, they were in France to get away from all the drama surrounding the death of Peter Parker, except they saw the news about Miles Morales being the new Spider-Man. So they came back to New York to talk to him, to give him something that belonged to Peter Parker when he was Spider-Man. Before they can though, you have Captain America appear saying he disagrees with what she's about to give Miles Morales. Of course, you had the same conversation happening all over again, where you have Steve Rogers telling Miles Morales he should not be Spider-Man. You have Gwen Stacy, Aunt May, and Miles Morales telling him that he is wrong. Again, this is Steve Rogers just beating himself up with the idea that he messed up because he did not train Peter Parker and Peter Parker died. And you have Gwen Stacy telling Captain America that he cannot punish himself and others for the death of Peter Parker. Mary Jane even appears as well to show that she is on the side of letting Miles Morales be the new Spider-Man. You still have Captain America thinking that Miles is just too young to be a hero in this world. In the middle of their conversation, you have Captain America getting a call from someone about something going on in the city, where you have Steve Rogers leave, but before he leaves, you have him tell if he sees Miles Morales out there being Spider-Man again, he will take him down. Then he leaves. But you have Aunt May and Gwen Stacy show Miles what they were going to give him before Captain America interrupted earlier. It is Peter Parker's web shooters. Remember, Miles has not shown us his version of webbing. This is why he needs web shooters. But this is Aunt May giving her blessing for Miles to be the new Spider-Man, but also telling him he does not need to listen to anyone. Do what Miles Morales feels what is right to do. This is where we get the moment of seeing Miles Morales trying to learn how to use web shooters for the first time. It is another learning step for Miles. It is showing the constant growth that Miles has been going through in this entire series. We are still going to see it, but this is a nice pace for a young hero learning how to be the new Spider-Man in the world. Now we learn what is happening in the city that made Captain America leave, which is the fact that Rhino is in the city. Remember that Rhino is a character who is not really a big time villain like he is in the main Marvel universe. More of just a villain used to move the story forward, where we see Captain America trying to beat down on Rhino, but he is struggling. So you have Miles Morales aside to jump in and give Captain America a hand to beat down on Rhino, where this book closes on Miles Morales being able to take down Rhino. It does cause a lot of damage, but in the process of taking down Rhino, he saved people and Captain America lives. You have Captain America agree that Miles Morales can be the new Spider-Man, just needs a little bit more training. And this is So the opening of this book reminds us what is happening in the Ultimate Marvel universe in this event. Washington, D.C. was blown up thanks to Reed Richards, Nick Fury, and other leaders in government who are no longer around. Southwest states have been taken over by Nimrod Sentinels and small militia groups. They are going around killing mutants because they hate them so much. Picking back up with Kitty Pryde X-Men team, remember, her, Rogue, Iceman, and the son of Wolverine went to the southern states to help free them from the Nimrods. Well, they stopped by a diner, and a group of humans they had interacted with earlier at a checkpoint on a road followed them to the diner and shot Jimmy. Of course, Jimmy has a healing factor just like his father and was able to come back to life and begin battling against these guys. With Jimmy starting a fight, of course, the other X-Men join in on the battle, and this leads up to a big moment and kind of shows the direction the X-Men will be going. See, Iceman, Rogue, and Kitty Pryde, well, they're only attacking these guys to temporarily stop them from coming back. Except Jimmy is beginning to have the mindset of how to handle things like his father, where he actually ends up killing someone. Because Rogue asks what the rules are for how much damage to do to these guys, and Jimmy shows her what the rules are by stabbing someone. Proceeding on after that, we see them regroup in their car, driving down deeper into the southwestern states. This leads into Kitty Pryde telling them they need to ditch the car, and also she needs to tell them some news. So in our last video, Kitty found out that Johnny Storm had been taken. Remember that when Kitty and her fellow X-Men left on this mission, they left Johnny Storm, who was living with them. They left him to stay with the group of children they had saved in our first Ultimate Comics X-Men video. He was supposed to watch over the group of children, but she found out there was a raid and he was taken. The question the group has is that, who are the people that took him? Do they know that he is not a mutant? Also, the team wonders what is their next move, which is to continue on to free the southwestern states from the Nimrod Sentinels. This leads into a nice brief moment for the book, where we see them trying to find somewhere to rest, which they do, and they were able to find a car there as well. We can see them happy here because it is a moment of fresh air for them, away from all of the madness. Rogue and Iceman getting along again for the first time since they dated way back then. Also seems like Jimmy and Kitty might have a thing going on for them as well in this book. Now the X-Men team was able to make it to a small town to find out that it has been taken over by the Nimrods, where they meet a group of people, but more especially a young girl named Husk. We're going to learn more about Husk down the road, but the reason why she is here is to give information to the X-Men about the area. Also, she tells Kitty Pryde about someone who could possibly help the X-Men out with taking down the Nimrods and taking back the states as well. Husk leads them into the mountains, where out of nowhere they find this path down to some kind of bunker that was hidden in the mountains. The person Husk was talking about is no other than Nick Fury himself. We have not seen this man since he was forced out of S.H.I.E.L.D. back in our Jonathan Hickman Volume 2 video of the Ultimates. Left us wondering what this man has been up to. Well, it seems like on a mission to save the southwestern states. And this The opening of this book reminds us what happened at the end of our last Ultimate Comics Ultimates video. With the actions of what happened in our earlier Ultimates and X-Men videos, the country is divided. You have states being taken over by Sentinels, militias, politicians, and the list goes on. At the end of our last video, we learned that the West Coast states plan to use Hank Pym's Secret Wasp robot army to protect their borders, meaning they are killing anyone who is trying to jump the border. Then we learn more about some of the other states. The Carolinas are fighting against each other. The Midwest had formed their own nation named the Great Lake Alliance, and someone has taken over Detroit. Finally, we have to remember in our last video, the states that are still part of America are about to have a special election for a new president, since the Senate is going to remove the current one. Let's not forget, we now have Captain America back on the Ultimates team now. Since he's been back, he has been trying to rebuild America, except now President Howard tells him that he needs to stay in Dallas to help make Texas being part of America again official, and not go over to the West Coast state. President Howard states that he's going to let them be their own nation, except Captain America is not going to allow that. Then we see Captain America meet up with Nick Fury, and this section confirms that this takes place after Kitty Pryde have left New York, made it to the Southwest, and met Nick Fury, because you have Nick Fury tell Captain America that he can worry about the rest of the country. Nick Fury and Kitty Pryde are going to help free the southwestern states, since their situation is more on the mutant war side. This leads into Nick Fury kind of pushing Captain America to actually ignore orders and do what is right, which is to help bring America back together. Nick Fury knows Captain America hates disobeying orders, but it is one of those times he must do it if America is going to come back together. So we can see Captain America is actually considering doing that, especially when it comes to President Howard telling him do not go to California. But getting back over to California, we see that the Wasp robot army that was made by Hank Pym that the West Coast nation decided to use to protect their borders have gone wild. Besides them protecting the borders of the nation, now they're attacking people all over the newly formed nation. Remember, this idea was given to the leaders of this nation by Modi, the son of Thor. He has been going around to these different nations and making them do things that bring the Ultimates down on them, and he leaves while the nation is left with their pants down. Again, it is Modi moving pieces for his master plan. Now, in the middle of this massacre that the Wasp robot army is on, we see Captain America has appeared, meaning that he is disobeying orders from the president. Now, he is not alone, because we see the rest of the Ultimates are there to help out with this battle. Iron Man, Hawkeye, and Monica Chang. They are helping him protect people from this army while trying to take this army down. Now, this battle is being played on live television. The reason why that is so important is because, remember, the states are still part of America, are holding a special election for a new president. People really like that Captain America is trying to bring America back together again and thinking he should be the new president. Also, the current president, President Howard, is mad that Captain America is disobeying his orders. Let's not forget about Modi though, because remember what I said, he's going around moving pieces for his master plan, where we see him in Wyoming meeting up with some men on a lake. Come to find out that these men are actually part of an organization well known to the world, Hydra. Now, we first saw Hydra back in Ultimate Spider-Man Requiem #1 as a flashback issue, showing how Madam Hydra and her group of Hydra agents try to take down Tony Stark. They have reformed, and now their goal is to take down the American government. And Modi has a plan. All they need to do is to access Project Pegasus. That name is going to be very important down the road, because we have seen Project Pegasus so many times in Ultimate Marvel comics. Now, getting back over to the Ultimates who are in California trying to stop the Wasp army, we see them dealing with the fact that they need to find the power source to stop it. So you have Hawkeye, Captain America, and Monica Chang trying to defend people from the army. Iron Man is trying to locate the power source of the army and give the location over to Thor so Thor can stop it. Now, when Thor gets to the location, he sees an Asgardian symbol on top of a building, letting him know that Asgardian is around. We know it is Modi, except Thor does not remember Modi. It seems like he has forgotten about his son being the last Asgardian besides him. But Thor is able to kill the power source which stops the Wasp army. Now we are going to end this video on the note you have someone calling Captain America through a payphone, where he answers, and this is where he finds out that it is Carol Danvers, where she tells him the big news, that he has just won the election. Captain America is now the president of the United States of America. And so starting off this video, we actually kind of start off with the book being funny, where you have Genki, the best friend of Miles, trying to explain to Miles that he found a way to make Miles the most popular hero in the world, just being the goofy character in the book, and honestly to me, it is not that important, it's just fun to see. It just shows that Miles' life is not always dark and crazy. He has some bright moments in his life, like Genki. This proceeds on to Miles showing Genki what he got from Aunt May and Gwen Stacy in our last Ultimate Comics Spider-Man video. This section is reminding us that Aunt May did give Miles Peter Parker web shooters as a way to say that she is giving her blessing for Miles to be the new Spider-Man. Also, that was when Captain America tried his best to stop Miles from being the new Spider-Man, only for Aunt May to tell Miles to follow his heart and be the new Spider-Man in the Ultimate Marvel Universe. But we also see that Miles realized that he will need more web fluid for the web shooter soon. So he asked Genki to help make him some new web fluids for his web shooter. We then see Miles go home after school, where he sees a ton of police cars outside and of course would make anyone scared. So he runs in to find Maria Hill. This is our first time being introduced to Maria Hill in the Ultimate Marvel Universe, where we see her right now asking questions about Aaron Davis, the uncle of Miles, who was the Prowler and had died a couple stories ago. So the big question is right now is seeing how much Miles knows about his uncle. Also, this is Maria Hill kind of telling Miles that he is actually innocent. Because remember, when Miles fought his uncle, his venom shock had gone off, and it did blow up the tech suit of Prowler, except you have Maria Hill state that the suit actually had some technical issues. So when he used his venom shock, it actually wasn't his fault for the death of his uncle. It was actually the suit just not being taken care of properly. At the same time, it is Maria Hill kind of showing that she may think there is something more to Miles Morales that he is not telling, but she does leave. Of course, we go back to Miles and Genki again at school, where Miles is telling Genki about him being cleared as a murderer, that he did not murder his uncle, but also that it should help ease the mind of Captain America as well, since Captain America still thinks Miles should not be a hero. Then finally, you have the actions of Divided We Fall, United We Stand finally take full effect in Miles Morales comics, where Miles and Genki's school is going to close down because the nation as a whole is not safe at the moment and school is putting the kids at risk. Now Miles is happy with the fact that now he will have the ability to go out and be Spider-Man more often without worrying about school. This leads into the idea Miles has, or really the idea Genki told Miles about, that Miles should join the Ultimates, which is different from Peter Parker, because Peter Parker never wanted to join the Ultimates. Well, he had thoughts about it, but he never took the steps to go forward with it. Honestly, it wasn't until Carol Danvers made the Ultimates train him to be a better hero. Well, try to. Either way, Miles goes over to the Triskelion, the home base of both S.H.I.E.L.D. and the Ultimates. Of course, when he arrives there, he runs into security, and luckily for him, Captain America was there to save him, and he tells Captain America that he wants to join the Ultimates. Before we get the chance to see Captain America's reaction to him being there at the Triskelion, we jump over to Jefferson, the father to Miles, where he is trying to go home, but the section he lives in is closed off, which then he tries to fight his way home to see if his wife and son are home. SHIELD agents ask him to turn away, but he keeps trying to fight them to get to his family, which now he is disobeying SHIELD agent orders, so they arrest him for disobeying orders. Now getting back to Miles Morales and Captain America, we can see that Captain America is angry at Miles for coming to the Triskelion unannounced. Before he is able to finish yelling at Miles, someone attacks the Triskelion, which of course means that now Miles Morales actually has to help with protecting the place. Like I said, everything from Divided We Fall, United We Stand event is finally taking full effect in Miles Morales comics. The reason why I say that is because we find out that the group who is attacking the Triskelion is no other than Hydra. Remember, in our Ultimates video earlier, Hydra was reformed and is trying to overthrow the government. In that video, Modi, the son of Thor, had begun the process of actually helping them get what they want, which is to basically take over the government. As we can see here, they are coming out with different kinds of weapons and tech to use to help them take over the Triskelion, but they still have to fight Captain America and Spider-Man. Honestly, this is the book where you kind of have Captain America realize that he was wrong about Miles Morales. At the same time, this is Brian Michael Bendis, the writer of the book, sending a message in this book. When Miles came out in the Ultimate Marvel Universe, a lot of people did not like him, mainly because a lot of people actually grew up with Peter Parker in this universe. So when it came to Miles taking over, people were angry, but Bendis is telling folks that Miles is going nowhere. He is actually just as capable of being Spider-Man like Peter Parker was. Maybe even better. Getting back to the story, we see Miles and Captain America being able to actually stop the Hydra group from taking over the Triskelion. Now after the battle is done, we see Captain America admit that he was wrong about Spider-Man, that Spider-Man does have what it takes to be part of the Ultimates. So Miles is now part of the Ultimates team. Even if Spider-Woman, aka Jessica Drew, who is also a clone of Peter Parker, is upset with Miles joining the team, but the big thing about this section is when we actually pick up with Captain America being sworn into office. Remember, in our Ultimates video, he won the election. So now, Captain America is the president of the United States of America. Now with this video, we pick up with Ultimate Captain America being sworn into office. Remember that he had won the election in the last Ultimate video. Now the real reason why this was done is because Modi, the son of Thor, needed to keep everyone looking at the presidential election while he tried to make his next big move. Also, the people who made this special election happen really think they will have Captain America under their control. As we know, it is very hard to keep Captain America under control, but they will try. Either way, after you have Captain America get sworn into office, he decides it is time for him to get back out there and bring back the states that had left America. Now, Carol Danvers is angry because to her, he should not be out there in the field where he could possibly be killed. He calls her up to tell her that while he is out in the field fighting, she has the right to make any moves she feels necessary. Now, before she can yell at him even more, that is when she realized that this man is out somewhere and punching someone. That is when they find out that he is trying to deal with the Carolinas issue. Remember that one of the many situations that has been going on in America is that North and South Carolina broke apart from America, and they have begun battling against each other. This situation is handled very quickly. You have Captain America decide that these two states will be part of America once again. It's funny because how fast Thor, Iron Man, and Captain America were able to handle this problem. Now, after the battle, you have Thor explain that he thinks that there could be another Asgardian out there, because at this point in Ultimate Marvel Comics, Thor thinks he is the only Asgardian left on Earth, since Reed Richards and his children killed all of them off. He had found some clues back in Texas that shows that there could be another Asgardian out there. Now we know it is Modi, but for Thor, he thinks it must be Loki. We then see Senator Underwood talking to Captain America about how Captain America can't just go and do as he please, where of course Captain America thinks the opposite of that. We have to remember that Underwood was the one who made the deal with Modi to keep everyone looking away from Wyoming, so Modi can get the things he needs for his final move. We then see Captain America go to Detroit, where basically you have him do the same thing he did with the Carolinas. He goes over there and he was able to deal with the situation out there so quickly. Now again, Underwood is not liking this. He was hoping to have Captain America under his control, except he can't, which makes him worry and warns Modi that Captain America could be coming to Wyoming next. If he does, it could ruin Modi's plan. Then we find out that Thor had already flown over to Wyoming. When he gets there, he quickly senses that there could be another Asgardian, so he contacts Captain America to warn him, which makes Captain America call up Agent Flum. Remember that Agent Flum had a hand in removing Nick Fury from S.H.I.E.L.D. and then took over S.H.I.E.L.D. Well, when Captain America tried to send S.H.I.E.L.D. to help Thor in Wyoming, Flum says he can't do that. And so Captain America tells him he will just go there on his own. This is where we learn that Flum is working with Underwood and Modi as well. This is the leader of S.H.I.E.L.D., another part of the government being dirty. But you have Underwood tell Flum to get rid of Captain America, which means he shot a missile hoping to kill off Captain America. Now, Monica Chang was there in the room. She used Pym particles to make herself small enough to not be noticed, where she tells them that the Ultimates knew that Agent Flum was dirty and plotting something. Also, Captain America comes in to show that the missile he sent hit a ghost signal, meaning that he never targeted Captain America like he thought he did. Either way, you have Captain America also tell us that he knew Underwood was dirty. The way we find out is where we see Hawkeye hiding behind Underwood, where you have Captain America telling Underwood to disband the group that controls him and S.H.I.E.L.D. To finally close on this video, we see Thor go inside Project Pegasus. That is where Modi was hiding at, but also Project Pegasus is very important in Ultimate Marvel Comics. A lot of unknown or dangerous artifacts were kept there, some dangerous weapons. Now, when Thor confronts Modi, he still thinks that Modi is Loki still, only for Modi to tell him that he is incorrect, that he is not his brother, but actually his son. He locked away, back in our Jonathan Hickman's Ultimates Volume 1 video. But this So finally, getting back into Ultimate X-Men, we pick up where we left off last time. We saw Kitty Pryde finally make it to the southern states. The reason why this is so important is that when she got there, she met a young girl named Husk, who then led her into this space in the mountains, where Kitty Pryde met Nick Fury. Now, the two of them quickly form an alliance. But you have Kitty Pryde ask why in the world Nick Fury is trying to help the mutant race out, where you have Nick Fury state that he lost S.H.I.E.L.D., but also he states that with the concentration camps, it bothers him. It reminds him of some bad times here in America. Also, he wants to help the mutant race out. So he states that Kitty Pryde must be the one to fix the problem. It will help the mutant race in the long run. And he states she is in charge. He will be her advisor. This leads into Kitty Pryde going to stake out a camp that is nearby with Husk. This is where we learn what Husk can do, which is basically she can take a form of an object, and once she is done, she sheds it off. So here she touches a boulder and her skin turns rocky, which was the perfect cover for her and Kitty when an army of Nimrod sentinels were flying by. Also, we see that Husk may have a crush on Jimmy, the son of Wolverine. Kitty does not tell Husk that he is kind of taken by her. Either way, you have them continue their observation of the camp that they are planning to break mutants out of, where you have Husk mention how the Sentinels are being controlled by William Stryker Jr. Now for Kitty, what she remembers is that she killed William Stryker back in New York. She has no idea about his mutant powers being able to control technology. After she killed him, he transferred his mind into the Sentinel system. Now we know that, but they don't. So to her, this must be some kind of mistake with what Husk is saying. Now when Kitty Pryde gets back to the mountain base, you have Kitty Pryde talk to the rest of the X-Men who came with her, Rogue, Iceman, and Jimmy, the son of Wolverine, where you have them tell her about the truth of the mutant race they have around them here in the base are the ones that still need to be saved. To Jimmy, most of these mutants have been beaten down so much they might not want to fight. This is where you have Nick Fury come in and explain she has to find their motivation and bring it out. While she gives this powerful speech, which does help, but what really is important is that she is going to show how serious she is about saving the mutant race, with her and Nick Fury leaving to go kill off some Sentinels. We did get this weird scene with Rogue where she is walking around the mountain base, where she is watching other people touch each other. Remember, Rogue is unable to touch anyone thanks to her powers, but she does get confronted by Quentin Quire, who we all know is a very powerful psychic, definitely in the main Marvel universe, but will be here in the Ultimate Marvel universe as a very powerful psychic. We see him say some weird stuff to Rogue, but use his powers to give him the ability to touch her, which leads into them making out. Again, it's kind of weird because honestly, she just met this man a moment ago and now she is here making out with him, literally 1 minute later. Finally, we see Kitty Pryde and Nick Fury go out in the field, and we see them find a Nimrod group, where you have the two of them being able to take out at least two of the Nimrods. This is very important because she takes the head of one of them back and shows everyone in the mountain base that what she did, everyone can do it too. She is 17 years old, her powers are mostly defensive, and she does not know the area either, meaning that it is not impossible for other mutants to do what she did. So with Jimmy backing up her speech, she got her army now. Also, she has someone who has similar powers to William Stryker Jr., who can talk to technology. Now, when this young mutant named Blackbox touches the Nimrod, it actually sends some kind of signal to William Stryker Jr., where we see him in his new Sentinel body, where he still doesn't know about his own mutant powers thanks to his dad, but he was able to have the Nimrods build him a new body, and he heard Kitty's voice through that Nimrod signal, so he knows Kitty Pryde is nearby, the person that killed him. This leads to a few pages where you have Kitty Pryde sending a message out for the whole world to hear, a message where she declares that mutants are now free, that she is calling all mutants to join her in the Southwest states to basically fight back. This message can be heard from all over the world, not just America. We're even talking about Jean Grey and her people at Seer. Remember that at this point, Jean Grey stayed at Seer after the Zorn brothers left. But this is Kitty Pryde time to shine. But her message is also heard by William Stryker Jr. as well. So we know that he will come after her very soon. Getting back to Blackbox, the mutant who has a connection to technology is looking at the brain of the Nimrod that Kitty Pryde and Nick Fury took out earlier. Now the Nimrod seems like its power source is dead, but for some reason it is transmitting a signal which tells Blackbox something is up. Now we get to see Kitty Pryde's army begin their first mission, which is to break out mutants from a nearby camp. This leads us into seeing the son of Wolverine leading a team of mutants on the outside, making sure to stop any reinforcements from coming to the camp, while the main team breaks the mutants out. Now we pick up with Shola Inosuke, I know I just butchered that name, whose ability is telekinesis. He calls it combat telekinesis. It is just him being able to move small objects with his mind at a very fast pace. So he was able to take out this convoy unit by himself. It was just a moment to show off a new mutant and what they can do. This leads us into seeing the Gold Team, which is mainly Iceman and Husk breaking out mutants from the camp that was, where again it is to show off their abilities, but to get introduced to another mutant who will join the... We see her at the end of this section, but this is a character who originally appeared in the main Marvel universe as one of the new mutants. This person is Armor. Her name is hard for me to pronounce. It is Hisako Ichiki. I know I just butchered that. I think again is Hisako Ichiki. I hope I said that correctly. But she is a classic Marvel character. She is able to create psionic armor to protect. Now, of course, the mission was completed and mutants were brought back to the base safe. So we pick up with Nick Fury and Kitty Pryde talking to one another. And honestly, that is not the important part. The important part is that Kitty Pryde gets confronted by Blackbox, where he tells both Kitty Pryde and Nick Fury that there are recordings from things they said a long time ago, where Blackbox laid it out for her that all of their recordings were being sent to someone. We know it was William Stryker Jr., where of course he does appear. He appears with an army of Nimrods ready to attack the mutants and kill all of them off. This is the perfect situation for William Stryker Jr. and the Nimrod army, and this is where we are going. So the way this book opens up, we actually pick up with Miles Morales, but we can see that he is stuck in the middle of a random field. The question is, how in the world did our young hero get stuck in the middle of the field? What led him here? And why aren't the Ultimates remembering about him if we are seeing SHIELD planes fly away from the field that Miles Morales is stuck in? That is when we jump back 4 hours and we see Miles is surrounded by the Ultimates and some other heroes in the Ultimate Marvel Universe, where this team will be going in to support Captain America and Thor in Wyoming. Remember, in our last Ultimates video, Thor's son Modi led Hydra to Project Pegasus to steal a lot of high-tech weapons, so they are going there to stop him. But we also see Hawkeye putting Spider-Woman and Miles Morales on the same team. And Spider-Woman hates Miles Morales, so she tries her best to get a new partner, only for Hawkeye to say no. Before we're able to explore that, we see all of the heroes jump into the big battle that we are going to see again in the future Ultimates video. We establish quickly that Miles Morales is way over his head being here. That yes, he has the other heroes around him to protect and support him, but he is still very inexperienced to be here in this big civil war for America. So we see him getting blasted all over the place. We then jump back over to Brooklyn, where we establish here that this scene takes place 3 hours before the present day. Remember that Miles Morales' father Jefferson was arrested by SHIELD agents for disobeying their orders. So we see him in the back of their truck being transported to who knows where. Except out of nowhere, the truck gets flipped over. And the big question is, what caused the truck to flip over? Where we find out it was a group of Hydra agents, and they are claiming that they have taken over New York. With them here, they give Jefferson and the men he was with an option: join them or just go home. That is when Jefferson watches them shoot one of the SHIELD agents in cold blood. Getting back over to the war with Miles Morales and the rest of the heroes of the Ultimate Marvel Universe, we actually pick up with him working alongside Spider-Woman in the middle of the fight, and he is trying to figure out why she hates him so much. But she tells him that she does not hate him. She really believes that he does not belong here at all. Remember that Spider-Woman is the clone of Peter Parker in this universe, and even though they weren't that close, she does not like the idea of someone taking up the name Spider-Man that used to belong to Peter Parker. Or it could be the fact that she really believes that Miles Morales should not be anywhere close to this kind of battle. He should be home away from all of this. Jumping back over to Miles Morales' father Jefferson, we see him at home, where he is confronted by Miles Morales' mother. She is wondering where in the world her son is. Is her husband okay? Except that is when she sees that her husband is holding onto a gun, wondering why in the world he is holding onto a gun for. What has been going on here in that part of town since she's been away? We then finally get to the point where we close on today's video, where we see that Miles Morales is still fighting alongside Spider-Woman, where she still wants him to leave this battle. Of course, he ignores what she is saying, but he then sees that one of the War Machine suits is under control of Hydra, is planning to kill Captain America. So Miles decides that he must stop that War Machine armor, which leads into a set of panels where we watch him succeed in stopping it, except it explains why he was left behind in the field. The reason why is because after completing his goal, well, he was knocked out, where of course leads us into the present day, where we see him stuck in the middle of the field. And this is So the way this story begins, we pick up with some random couple talking about they have to do something. At first you're wondering what they are talking about, since they mention the country's civil war. At the end of this page, they state they must help Hydra end the war. The next page gives us a page where we see how big the Hydra army has become. Because remember that the army was small, except thanks to Modi, the son of Thor, he was able to help the army grow to the point the American government would be scared of them. Then the book finally picks up where the last Ultimates video left off, where we saw Thor meeting his son Modi for the first time since putting him in the World Tree, where we see that Modi is trying to raise up a new empire under his control, that everything he did was for him to become a ruler, and he also states all he had to do was play with the true human emotions to get what he needed, that he was able to achieve all of this without even trying. Now, he also mentions how he is disappointed in his father for failing to stop Reed Richards and the children when they killed off Asgard. You have Thor trying to reason with his son, but it is not working. Then we see that somehow Thor falls under the control of Modi. We then pick up at the present moment, where Modi and Hydra are ready to make their big move. Except you have Modi mention that Hydra needs to get ready for S.H.I.E.L.D. since they are already here. That is when we see that some of the Hydra agents are really S.H.I.E.L.D. agents in disguise, which leads to the all-out battle we saw back in our last Ultimate Divided We Fall, United We Stand video. So right now, it's just a civil war in America. We then get a page where we see Monica Chang, Iron Man, and Captain America sitting on the helicarrier talking about the weird brain signature they have found that makes Iron Man wonder what is going on. Captain America wants to go out there and help his fellow S.H.I.E.L.D. soldiers, but of course, Monica Chang says no since he is now the president. The next couple pages, we see that Hydra is actually too much for S.H.I.E.L.D. in the Ultimates. You have Hawkeye be our eyes on the ground as he talks about how bad they are losing. He is asking for more assistance, but Monica Chang does not want to throw Iron Man out there just yet. Then you have this big moment where everyone sees Captain America riding on one S.H.I.E.L.D. vehicle with the American flag, which basically gets everyone motivated to keep fighting this war. The problem is that Captain America gets shot right out of the sky, and this continues to show the idea how bad things are getting for the Ultimates in S.H.I.E.L.D. They are losing this war. This is the moment where we learn how Modi is able to mind control Thor so easily, where we see he has the Mind Gem, which was one of the many artifacts that was locked away in Project Pegasus. Remember, Project Pegasus was a place where the American government locked away items that were very dangerous or never could be figured out, just like the Mind Stone. And to give you a quick rundown on where the Mind Stone came from, well basically, when Odin was just a regular Asgardian, before he was an Allfather, he roamed the 9 realms for a great foe. He found Heidelberg, I do hope I pronounced that name correctly, who was very intelligent, except when Odin tried to control Heidelberg's mind after beating him, well, he couldn't. So his mind was turned into the Mind Stone. To close on the first chapter of this book, we see Modi use the Mind Stone to control Cassandra Lang, who is Giant Woman, which he made her attack the helicarrier that Monica Chang was on. Then you have Modi instruct Thor to then attack Captain America, when we get this epic page where we see Captain America tries to block Thor's attack. Now, in the second chapter of this video, we literally pick up with Captain America and the Ultimates talking like they won the war. We missed the war, and we pick up with the aftermath. The Ultimates won the battle, but not the war. Hydra is living down in the underground, but slowly gaining a following. Captain America had 3 years of martial law, and things aren't really that great. That is when we realize that this is just a dream, because that is when we see Peter Parker, Hank Pym, and the Scarlet Witch as well. These folks are dead in this universe. That lets Captain America realize what he is seeing is all fake. That is when Captain America wakes up being choked out by Thor himself, and Captain America realizes that he's still fighting in the war. He tries to convince Thor that he is being controlled, but Thor is not listening at all. We even see how bad the Ultimates are losing, where it seems that everything is falling apart for the Ultimates. The Ultimates are pinned thanks to Hydra forces. It actually gets to the point where Hawkeye gets blown away by a blast. When he looks up, he has a gun pointed at him. It is actually the lady we saw at the very beginning of our video, and she is getting ready to kill off Hawkeye. Now this leads up to the big moment where you have Captain America try one more time to convince Thor that he is being mind controlled, which actually gave Captain America some breathing room when Thor tries to fight against the mind control. While Thor was doing that, you have Captain America actually take his shield and break the Mind Stone, which of course frees everyone who was under its control. So, with everyone no longer being under the control of the Mind Stone, the numbers of Hydra drops quickly, lets us know that a lot of the soldiers on the Hydra side were really not on the Hydra side, that really they were being forced to join Hydra by Modi using the Mind Stone. So you have Giant Woman actually start helping out saving Monica Chang before she is killed. Then you have all the Ultimates coming together, getting ready to attack the last of Hydra one more time. Then we get to see the big bang of the story, where we see Thor have to do the one thing that no father should have to do. Except for Thor, it was one of those things he had to do that must happen to save the world. Thor killed his son Modi right then and there, and that is all we get to see of Modi. To close on this video, we see that the Ultimates coming together, where we see this is going to be the new status quo for the Ultimates. Captain America is the president. Monica Chang is the head of S.H.I.E.L.D. Really, the Ultimates kind of make the rules now for America, where the book closes that something is coming. And we will see that in the next few Ultimates stories. What's going on there, YouTube, and welcome back to another comic book video. This is the channel where we sit down and cover different comic book stories from different comic book companies. Today, we're going to jump back over to Marvel Comics and continue our coverage over the Ultimate Marvel Universe. Now, we have been covering this Ultimate Marvel event known as Divided We Fall, United We Stand. Well, today, we are going to go ahead and wrap up the X-Men involvement in this big crossover event. We're going to cover Ultimate X-Men number 18. But We are also going to cover Ultimate Comics X-Men 18.1, a second issue that basically deals with the aftermath of the event for the X-Men team. So, if you do like today's comic book video, please hit that like button down below and also subscribe to the channel for more content to come in the near future. But I do hope you enjoy today's video. So just like every issue, the story opens up to remind us what is going on across the nation in this crossover event, where the nation has been divided thanks to the actions in Ultimate Comics X-Men and Ultimates. At this point, the Ultimates have taken care of most of the issues except the mutant problem in the Southwest states. Also that Captain America is the president now. We also get word that Johnny Storm has been found. Remember, he was missing in the beginning of this event, and he was just found badly beaten, but alive. We finally get back to the present day, where our last video left off at, which was that William Stryker Jr., who we thought had died, had instead transferred his mind into the Sentinel Nimrod system. He was able to do this because his mutant ability lets him control technology. Well, in our last video, he was able to locate the location of Kitty Pryde, the person who killed him back in New York and sent an army after her. So we are picking up at that moment where now there is an army of Nimrods attacking the Kitty Pryde army base. Remember that Nick Fury is also here to help out as well. So we see him fighting alongside the others in this big battle. Now, William Stryker Jr. is not here with his Nimrod army. His death will happen in this book in the most anticlimactic death I have seen in comics in a long time. This is just a small army that he is hoping that will actually be able to take everyone out. If not, then he will of course step in to help out his Nimrods to reach his goal, which is to get rid of the mutant race. Now, luckily for Kitty Pryde, she has some powerhouses on her team. This even includes my favorite X-Men character, Storm. She just comes in and wreaks havoc across the battlefield, which of course led to the end of this battle, giving the X-Men this victory. We pick up moments after the battle, where you have Nick Fury come to Kitty Pryde to tell her that he is leaving, that he must help the new government fix all of the problems of America. Where you have Kitty Pryde question about Captain America being the new president. Is he someone the mutant community can rely on to help fix the mutant situation in America? The only thing Nick Fury can tell Kitty about Captain America is that he has a good heart, but he has a lot on his shoulders when it comes to fixing America at the moment. Then he proceeds to say that Captain America will come soon to pay her a visit. Before we move on to the next section, we see that William Stryker Jr. is coming to finish the job he started earlier, with another army of Nimrods behind him. We then get a couple pages showing us how the relationship between Rogue and Quentin Quire is going since they had started seeing each other. We see that he was able to use his powers as a way to get rid of the voices in her head. Remember that every time Rogue absorbs someone's memories or powers, those memories or thoughts stay inside her head. So, with Quentin Quire being a psychic mutant, he was able to get rid of those voices in her head. Now we do get to the big fight, which is Kitty Pryde's army getting ready to fight against William Stryker Jr. and his army of Nimrods. You're about to see why I said earlier, this fight really sucks. Because the army appears, and we see William Stryker Jr. go and confront Kitty Pryde, where you think he is about to have this big one-on-one battle with her. We don't get that. Instead, What we do get to see is that there is a small battle that lasts a couple pages. At the end of the fight, she was able to kill him off very quickly by taking her gun and shooting him in the head. There is the death of William Stryker Jr. in comics. To close on the first chapter of this video, we see Kitty Pryde meeting up with Captain America, where of course we see that he did have to make a tough choice when it came to the mutants and putting America back together. He tells Kitty Pryde that he is giving mutants two choices. The first is to take the Seer Cure, which we saw in our Ultimates video, basically a virus that would cure the mutant gene. But then he states that the mutants who don't want to give up their powers, his plan is to move the mutants to a reservation in America, be their own kind of state in America. For Kitty Pryde, she hates the idea that Captain America is playing around with the idea of a cure being out there because of politics. So she leaves, but she accepts the offer. We then see Kitty Pryde be interrogated by some lady who works for the government. The reason why this is so important is because with Kitty Pryde taking the offer from Captain America, the government is trying to see if she can be trusted. Also the fact that this picks up days after the ending of the first chapter we just went through, where we learn that there was an incident. That incident involved a bomb that went off. This lady wants Kitty Pryde to go back over what happened with that situation and what is going to happen down the road. We jump back 3 days ago and we see Iceman and Husk in line at one of the camps that was set up in America to give mutants the Seer Cure. At first we learn that Husk wants to get rid of her powers and Iceman is trying to convince her, don't do it. She explains that she is tired of shedding off her skin after transforming. Now this is the plot twist. When Husk asks Iceman to go get her a drink, once he is gone, we see that she has a bomb on her and that bomb went off, of course. Before we learn the status of what happened with Husk, we actually learn more from Kitty Pryde, where she explains about the camps being set up to give the cure, how the cure is a painful process, but there were thousands of mutants lining up to take this cure. We then learn that Husk was never truly on Kitty Pryde's side, that instead she was brainwashed to believe that mutants are a problem. Mutants should be killed off. Her plan was to paint a picture that mutants are a problem. Once the humans give mutants peace, then a war will break out or the mutants will attack the humans. She was going to use the bomb as a way to paint that picture. So the big question came up after they had discussed Husk, which is how Iceman is doing, since we find out that Iceman had apparently had a crush on Husk. So the question is, how is he doing after dealing with the idea of her being an undercover agent? Well, not good. He does not talk to anyone, and he just uses his powers in the middle of the field to get away from everyone. Now, the next question to come up is about someone we have not seen in a little bit of time. That person being Nami Bloom, who was this little girl Kitty Pryde was watching over back in New York after being saved from William Stryker Jr. Nami Blue has the powers of Magneto and Polaris. When we first saw her, she was only able to magnetize herself. Well, she had a secondary evolution when it came to her powers, that now she's able to do more with her powers. But the reason why she's being brought up is because we see that she has left New York and came to the Southwest, where Kitty Pryde and her got into a small argument that really wasn't an argument. To Nami, she feels like Kitty Pryde is always too busy to hang out with her are too busy to even talk to her. So now Nami hates Kitty Pryde. Her hatred evolved by the little time she spent around the camp that is giving out the cure, because when she sees that mutants are lining up to take this cure, it is Kitty Pryde's fault that this is even happening, that Kitty Pryde should have done something to prevent a cure from being out there. Kitty Pryde tries to reason with her about why she had to take the deal to help the mutant race. To Nami, it is not good enough no matter what she says. Also, the fact that Nami was able to use her powers to levitate Kitty and explain that her powers have evolved and she's becoming a new threat for the X-Men to deal with. Now, she does not kill Kitty only because Rogue was nearby, but she could have if she wanted to. And this is where we are going to end today's video. So please hit that like button down below and also subscribe to the channel for more content to come in the near future. Also, any suggestions on books I should read? Well, please let me know in the comments below, because you never know, your suggestion could be a future video down the road. But I do hope you enjoy today's video. So this is the final issue we are going to cover when it comes to the Ultimate Marvel Divided We Fall, United We Stand event. We pick up with Genki, the best friend of Miles Morales, watching the news about his best friend being one of the heroes in the big battle that happened in Wyoming. So now Genki is wondering if Miles is okay after that battle has ended. So we then jump back over to where Miles is at, where if you guys remember that he was knocked out in the middle of the battle. So when he woke up, most of the S.H.I.E.L.D. team left him behind on the battlefield heading home. This leads into the big issue of the writing of Brian Michael Bendis, where he is someone who does not try to write his stories to fit in with the rest of Marvel Comics at the same time. Also, when he is forced, sometimes his stories still don't line up with the rest of Marvel Comics. The reason why I say that is because in this issue, we see that he is confronted by Giant Woman, aka Cassandra Lang. And see, in the Ultimate Comics, she was controlled by Modi, but she was able to break free from being mind controlled by Modi thanks to the help of Captain America. Well, to Bendis, she did not really. That she was knocked out and basically Miles Morales has to fight against her because she is still under the mind control of Modi. Even though the battle has been over, she is apparently under the control of Modi still. It's weird, but of course they do fight, where it does go back and forth for a while, but the problem is that after trying the Venom shot, thinking that it was going to work, of course he finds out that it does not work all the way, so he ends up being knocked out. We then jump back to the parents of Miles Morales, where we see them talking about what happened to Jefferson in our last video, where he was arrested by S.H.I.E.L.D. for disobeying their orders, but then Hydra agents saved him and the men that were also arrested by S.H.I.E.L.D. Hydra gave Jefferson an option to join them or to leave, but they were hoping that he would join them. Well, Jefferson does the opposite of that, where he actually shoots them and kills those random Hydra agents off. He freaked out because the only thing he wants to have is a normal life, which he is trying to achieve, but his wife reminds him that they need to find Miles. So we jump back over to Miles Morales, who is now being held hostage by a giant woman. And it seems like she is taking him back to Hydra, where Miles comes around and actually knocks her out by doing a lovely Venom Shock Blast and Punch combo. So she's out for the count, and now he can refocus on finding a way back home. That is when he is confronted by Spider-Woman, aka Jessica Drew, who tells him that S.H.I.E.L.D. and her have been looking for him. So now he has a way to get back home now. And we see Spider-Woman is actually more concerned for him this time than she was in our last video. That is when we see Spider-Woman take Miles back to the city. And you have Miles trying to talk to Spider-Woman as a way to finally learn who she is and why she cares so much for Peter Parker and why she has been hard on Miles. She tells Miles that for now, they can't talk, that he needs to go home and change and find his parents. In a couple of days, they will talk. Then she proceeds to say that her goal is to watch Miles achieve in life actually. So she is going to support him later on. But for now, just go ahead and go home. To close on this book and this event, we see Miles' parents actually go to visit Genki, and because his parents are looking for Miles since he wasn't home when they were at home, Genki is ready to lie for his friend, except that is when Miles walks in and tells them some kind of story on why he was not at home. They believe him, and the book closes on that point right there. And the next time we see Miles, he is going to fight against Venom. So guys, this is the end of today's video. So please hit that like button down below and also subscribe to the channel for more content to come in the near future. Also, any suggestions on books I should read, well, please let me know in the comments below, because you never know, your suggestion could be a future video down the road. But I do hope you enjoy today's video.